For question 55, the directions say to determine an appropriate viewing rectangle for each function and then use it to draw the graph. And here's our function. Before we do that, let's just see how the squared affects the sine curve. And we'll just start with the parent of y equals sine x. And we'll give it a graph here. And then we'll graph y equals sine squared of x, and we'll talk about it. Okay. If you look, the max value is still the same as positive 1. However, it does not drop below the x-axis because y is never going to be negative, and that's because sine squared of x is the same as the value of sine x squared. And every time you square either a positive or a negative, the resulting value is going to be positive. So that's something to keep in mind. As far as the sine squared 20x in terms of the proper viewing rectangle, the fact that we know that the max value is not going to change, still going to be 1 for y. Again, you could go 0 to 1 for y. You could go negative 1 to 2, just to give you maybe a little bit bigger window. You could actually see the max and min values here, but either one of those would be okay. I'd probably go to 0 on a graphing calculator for fluid math, maybe negative 1, 2, but any of those are okay. It's going to give you a very good idea of what this curve looks like. In terms of the 20x, well, let's see what happens here when we make this 20x. Right now, with this viewing rectangle, it looks crazy. But really all that's happened is the frequency of this wave has increased because the period has gone from 2 pi to 2 pi divided by 20, because 20 is k, and that's how we find the period. So the period in this case two pi divided by 20 is now pi over 10. So what we've done is we've reduced this period by a factor of 20. So what I would probably do in terms of my window, if I wanted to see 1 or 2 cycles, it really just kind of depends. You could start here. You can make this 0. It's one way to go about it. You can make this pi over 10. Alright, and this is actually one full cycle. And you're going to say, well, what we have is the value cycling twice, but just keep in mind the fact that in terms of the sine squared always making everything positive, this is still actually considered one full cycle. It is pi over 10. Alright, if you wanted to increase that, you could double that and you could go pi over 5. So you can see a little bit more in terms of y. We could go to 2. You could go to negative 1. In terms of your incremental values, your delta x, you can change that as well. But I would say that a decent answer here would be 0 to pi over 10, possibly negative pi over 10 to pi over 10, or even possibly negative pi over 5 to pi over 5 for x by all of these values, or these two values of y. So that's how I would probably set up question 55, and from there I would just sketch the value or the picture of this graph.